Quick word before the video starts. This was a video I completed front to back, and then all of the background footage got corrupted. But I was so tired from working on the video, I just put it off for a long time. So if you're watching this video and you're thinking, hey, this seems like it should have been uploaded a year ago, that's because it really should have been. The new Doom game is finally out. Doom: The Dark Ages. Everybody's playing it, ripping and tearing through the horde. Or they're replaying through one of the old games, wishing that magically $80 would appear in their wallet. But the one question that's on everybody's mind, partially because, let's face it, not everybody wants to spend $80 right now, is how does this game stack up against the other Doom games? Is it worse than Eternal? Is it better than Doom 3? Well, a popular sentiment seems to be forming, that while this game is good, it doesn't quite live up to the other two games in the modern Doom trilogy.
The game was good. This is what I said earlier, and I feel like a lot of people will probably feel the same way. If this game came out and we never got 2016 or Eternal, I think people would really, really, really love it, like no matter what. Because it is a good game, but it's not as good as 2016 and Eternal, so it is kind of a step back in that regard, at least for my taste it is. Like the parrying and the melee, like it's cool in the beginning, but it's just kind of
much slower
than all the mechanics for 2016 and Eternal.
But to me, something's really not adding up. Liking Eternal more, I get, but Doom 2016, really? Don't get me wrong, I'm not here to be some annoying nerd telling you you're not allowed to like something more than the thing I like. You absolutely can like Doom 2016 more than the Dark Ages, and there's plenty of valid reasons to. But the reasons many people are giving just don't line up with reality. It just doesn't make any sense to me to say that Dark Ages is too slow, that it's too repetitive, complain that you can beat the whole game with just one weapon, and then praise Doom 2016. It's the difference between saying, I like the Star Wars prequels better than the Star Wars sequels, versus, I like the Star Wars prequels better than the sequels because the CGI is better. No, the CGI is in fact not better, and this is objectively true. You just remember it looking better because you were like 5. I have no issue with people liking 2016 more. I only have an issue when their opinions are clearly based on false pretenses. It's very clear to me that people are being nostalgia blinded by 2016 in a large way. Instead of comparing the actual game to the Dark Ages, they're comparing how they felt playing the game at the time. And to understand that, we'll have to go back in time. The year is 2016. It's a dark time in humanity. The Thinning has just been released. And worse than that, every video game is Call of Duty. Except for actual Call of Duty, they were busy being Halo. It's been this way for a while now. The piss filters are taking over. Every first-person shooter is about killing the same exact generic hit-scan enemy over and over. The entire campaign. Even games where you had super cool abilities, you were still just shooting some guys with guns the entire game. The gamers are bored and dissatisfied with what they have. Oh wait, never mind, they're always like that. But nevertheless, change was needed, and it would come from an unlikely place. id Software, the video game juggernaut that doomed the video game landscape by accidentally creating the genre Call of Duty is in, came back to save it.
Okay, we need to decide whether we're focusing on graphics or realism for the new Doom game.
Well, I guess we'll have to focus on graphics, because it's not like we can make demons realistic.
Okay, but we don't have the money required for industry-pushing graphics. We can only achieve, at most, significantly above average.
Only significantly above average? That's not enough to sell a game anymore!
Okay, so I've been thinking about it. Maybe we can do realism. So, instead of demons, what if we have like an alien virus that mimics the effects of demons, and it unlocks a new chromosome? Okay, now you're just describing the Doom movie.
If we can't focus on graphics or realism, what are we gonna do? Those are the only two things video games are good for!
Hey guys, what if we try to make a game that's fun?
Wait, a game that's fun?
That's just crazy enough, it might work. Wait, games can be fun? Why have I been playing Call of Duty? Whoa, this game's totally awesome! There's more than one enemy type? How is this even a first-person shooter? You don't even have to hide behind a wall for half the game to regenerate your health! The single player's awesome, but the multiplayer sucks ass? It's like it's opposite day or something. Obviously, this is more than just a slight exaggeration. Game studios have always tried to make their games fun. But in the late 2000s and early 2010s, it began to feel more and more like fun, while important, was always second fiddle to whatever technology they can fit in the game. Half-Life 2 had the most awesome, most advanced physics system in any video game ever. But in terms of moment-to-moment actual gameplay, it got mogged by the game released in 1998. Skyrim had the most advanced, most immersive open world of any video game ever. But in terms of enemy and gameplay variety, it got completely mogged by the game released in 2006. Video game maps were getting bigger and bigger, while having less to actually do in them, and games were full of complex moral decisions, like, do I want to be good guy, or do I want to be bad guy? I mean, should I murder these little girls for no reason, or should I not do that? Every single video game released needed a skill tree, crafting, an open world map, a hacking immersive game. You really had to feel like Batman. It was the dawn of a new age of technology. Games were no longer bound by what could reasonably fit on a CD or cartridge. Now you could put just about anything in a video game, and people decided the best thing to put was everything. The gaming industry at this time lacked focus, and if there's one thing Doom 2016 had more than anything else, it was focus. It might seem strange now, but focusing on a tight single-player experience with no fancy bells or whistles, just moment-to-moment fun gameplay, was a genuine risk when this game released. Bethesda did not have high hopes for this game. They didn't release review copies, and instead focused on the more modern multiplayer, which caused a lot of people to assume the game was going to be terrible based on their experiences with it. That's the world Doom 2016 was released in, and why so many people fell in love with the game. It showed that there was still an audience for games purely designed to be fun. It showed that just because an idea was old, that doesn't mean it's not still good. At the time, it was a revolution in gaming. But that was at the time. Doom 2016 is not as good as you remember it being.
You need to leave!
Okay, I just spent the last 5 or whatever minutes relentlessly glazing this game, so you know this isn't coming from a place of spite or hate. Critiquing this game is gonna hurt. It feels like critiquing your great-grandpa who fought in World War II. I mean, yeah, he saved the world from the Nazis, but let's be honest, that doesn't mean he was a perfect person. I'm making this video primarily because I noticed a lot of discrepancies between the ways people were talking about Doom 2016 and Doom the Dark Ages. The 3 major criticisms the Dark Ages receives more than anything else is that the game is too slow, the game is too repetitive, and you can beat the game only using one gun. And these problems are often used to justify the idea that Doom 2016 is better than Doom the Dark Ages, despite that, in my opinion, all of these issues are way more pronounced in 2016 than they ever were in the Dark Ages. To me, this seems like a massive case of nostalgia blindness. You put on the rose-tinted glasses, and you remember only the good parts while ignoring the parts that were bad. In this video, I'm going to go one by one through this standard list of complaints and hopefully show you how 2016 is worse in all of these areas than the Dark Ages. Not to prove that 2016 was secretly bad the whole time, but to show how far we've come since then. This is by far the most obvious thing you'll notice if you go back to play Doom 2016 from a modern perspective. Despite this game inspiring countless movement shooters, it is definitely not one. Now, due to their innovative push-forward gameplay, the game always encourages you to be moving, but let's face it, they don't give you an overwhelming amount of options to choose from.
That's it?
Because movement abilities are such staples in the boomer shooter genre at this point, the game almost feels empty because of it. It desperately feels like it wants a slide or a dash or even just a faster run speed. And the one actual movement ability the game has, the double jump, is severely hampered by, well, the worst air control in any video game I have ever played. The second you enter the air, you are completely under the whims of gravity. If you need an example of what I'm talking about, here is me jumping forward but holding back. So I should start moving backwards at least, but can you even tell I'm doing this? It looks like I'm just jumping forward. Once you start your jump arc, you can barely influence it, if you can at all. And the double jump mechanics are not much better. Here I am doing the exact same thing, but with a double jump. So my second jump at least should be going backwards. But no, you are so tied to the momentum of your first jump that you can't go backwards from a double jump. It just shoots you straight up and cancels your momentum. For reference, this is what a real man's double jump should look like. Notice how when I jump backwards, I actually move backwards. It's insane, I know. Now there are some valid reasons for having a more realistic jump arc. Number 1, you're making a realistic military sim game. Huh, that's funny, that's the end of the list. I know game design is subjective, and there might hypothetically be a single person who prefers the more realistic jump, but I'm sorry, if your game has jump pads, you have no reason to not add air control. It is frankly baffling they don't have it. But Squid-Boy, there is air control. There's the air control rune you can equip. Oh yeah, well, I didn't find it. That might sound like a joke, but it is legitimate criticism. I didn't find it my first playthrough, and I'm willing to bet most people are like me. Air mobility is required for any amount of high-level play, so why isn't it just standard? I'm sorry, but putting a secret button in your game that makes it significantly funner to play is not good game design. Also, side note, I had to do research for this video through the hell that is the fandom wiki, so you guys better subscribe. Why is 2/3 of this screen a fucking ad? But what about the push-forward gameplay that encourages you to always move? That's at least great, right? 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 Well, for the most part, it is good, but there is one fatal flaw it suffers from. You see, there are several different ways that enemy shooting AI can work in video games. The first way is the most classic version. This is where essentially enemies don't think ahead. They shoot at the player exactly where they are. This means that as long as you are moving, the enemy will not hit you. This is how the AI works in the original Doom games, and it's why you can just circle strafe and never get hit. The next type of enemy AI is the type where they actually do lead their shots. If you walk in a straight line, they're going to hit you. If you want to avoid them, you're going to have to move more erratically. Doom 2016 does neither of these. Instead, it kind of invents its own method. The enemies in Doom 2016 do lead their shots, but as long as you're moving, the AI will intentionally miss. And this system works perfectly. Provided you only ever move in a straight line, of course. Yes, legitimately actually being conscious of your movements is inferior to just moving in a straight line constantly. I don't even know why they did this. If they wanted you to move, why didn't they just use the old method? That would have forced you to move anyway. This is a compromise in the same way cutting the baby in half was. They accidentally made a system where the dumber, more simplistic your movement was, the more likely you are to succeed. So sure, Doom 2016 might ask you to move and it might force you to move, but I would hardly say its movement is particularly good. Compare this to Doom the Dark Ages, where you move as fast as you do in 2016, but you also have a run button. And because of the run button and the shield bash, I think in this game, you move consistently faster than in any other Doom game. I mean, sure, Eternal might have better bursts of speed, but they're just that. They're bursts of speed. In the Dark Ages, you can be constantly moving fast. In fact, I think the only reason people say the Dark Ages is quote-unquote slow is because they watched the trailer, saw the slow motion, and went, yeah, the whole game's probably that speed. And because this is the internet and you're not allowed to change your opinions on anything ever, they just went with it. And also, with the Dark Ages, there's the incredibly obvious problem that if you think the game is too slow, you can just make it faster. There's an option to just straight up make the game faster. Seriously, if people were complaining about this game being too easy and they were playing on medium difficulty, they would get roasted. But no, changing the speed is different for a reason that definitely isn't arbitrary. Oh, but I'm judging the game based on the developer's intended vision. The developer's intended vision is to customize the game to your liking. How is that not getting through to you? Also, I don't know if it's too obvious, but I did not use my own footage for the Dark Ages section. I am not running OBS in the Dark Ages on my computer at the same time. The ability to beat the game with just one gun was definitely the most common criticism I saw in reviews. Every reviewer complained that one gun was simply just better than the rest and they had no reason to switch between different guns. The funny part is, every single reviewer seems to think a different gun was the overpowered one. And to me, this shows that the team behind the Dark Ages succeeded in what they wanted to accomplish. Every weapon can be used throughout the whole game and all guns are relatively equally viable. The same cannot be said for the weapons in Doom 2016. Making a game with this many guns in it, and also making them all viable, is an insanely impressive task. And if people weren't so caught up with the game not being Doom Eternal 2, they'd be able to see that for what an accomplishment it really is. This gives the Dark Ages an amount of replay value that simply didn't exist in the other Doom games. Because replaying the game with a different gun is no longer a special challenge run, it's just something you can do for fun. The Dark Ages gets a lot of flack for being a game you can beat with just one gun, but at least in the Dark Ages, it can be a different gun. The stranglehold the Super Shotgun has over the meta of Doom 2016 isn't exactly a secret. For reference, if you were to compare the Combat Shotgun to a fully upgraded Super Shotgun, the Super Shotgun does more damage per shot, has a higher rate of fire, and when upgraded, only shoots 1 shell per shot, making it more ammo efficient. Why does this gun even exist? Squid-Boy, what about weapon swapping? Yeah, what about it? I'm sorry, but weapon quick swapping in Doom 2016 really isn't all that. For starters, there's barely any weapons you can actually quick swap to. The chain gun takes so long to actually start firing, it might as well just flip you off if you try to quick swap. The precision bolt, one of the 4 staples of quick swapping, doesn't exist in this game. The plasma rifle and the assault rifle are both automatic weapons and are heavily unsuited for quick swapping. The pistol, and you have no reason to swap to the combat shotgun because the super shotgun is just better. This leaves just 3 weapons you can actually quick swap to. And because there's no tight ammo restrictions unlike Eternal, you really only need 2. Seriously, rewatch my gameplay. I have basically only used the super shotgun and ballista, and I have not been punished but rewarded for doing so. And that's not even mentioning quick swapping kind of breaks Doom 2016. It might be an intentional mechanic in Eternal, but it is not in 2016. It feels like dunking in wheelchair basketball. And when you put together how overpowered quick swapping is, with how many weapons it just doesn't work for, it actually hurts weapon variety more than it helps it, because it means you have no reason to use half the guns in the game. And even discovering quick swapping makes me one of the lucky ones. Most casual players never figure out how to do this, so they are only using 1 gun. And when discussing quality of a video game, the average person is the person that matters the most. And the average person seemed to really like that super shotgun. I don't mean to say the super shotgun is the only problem child in 2016's arsenal. I just focused on it because it's the most well-known and obvious. No, the other 1-gun builds in this game are way worse. You have such hits as mobile turret with infinite ammo, rocket launcher that does double damage and infinitely stun locks enemies, and the BFG. That's right, there's a build in Doom 2016 where you use the BFG to beat every encounter. Great, now Doom's effectively an idle game. Late game 2016 is dominated by spamming the same overpowered option over and over. Players can and will optimize the fun out of a game when given the chance. The biggest issue with Doom 2016 is that it starts off really strong and then it just fizzles out near the end. When you first start this game, you have to swap between weapons constantly. You do not have enough ammo to just solo use 1 gun. Melee is an incredibly useful tool for finishing off enemies and saving ammo. Grenades are an incredibly important part of your toolkit for both dealing with crowds and larger enemies you need to soften up. But then, as you get later into the game, something changes. You get ammo upgrades and swapping weapons is no longer required. You get guns that do way more damage, making melee completely obsolete. In fact, these weapons are so good they actually deal a lot more damage than grenades. So while the game starts off with a lot of interesting choices you have to juggle to succeed, it ends with just 1 choice you make over and over: shoot the enemy with your gun. And a lot of this is because I really think they fumbled the equipment design in this game. Grenades might start out useful in the early game, but when they do less damage than just firing one of your heavier guns once, there's really no point to use them. And before any genius tries typing in the comments, no, they don't guarantee staggers either. That was a feature added in Eternal specifically to make them not useless. The holograms are definitely the closest to being actually useful, but they suffer from the incredibly awkward design decision to make them spawn where you currently are. Because of this, it means you have to go where you want your distraction to be, and this makes it very clunky and unintuitive for a lot of especially casual players. I don't think I've ever seen a playthrough of someone playing Doom 2016 for the first time as a casual player and them actually using the holograms. And then there's the siphon grenade. What does this even do? I know it heals you, but how does it heal you? Do you think the item description explains? The siphon grenade was designed to work with the Doom Marine's Praetor suit, specifically to make use of the Argent receptors found in the gloves and chest plates. The grenade has 3 stages. When primed, the grenade releases a positively charged particle field around itself and the operator's hand. Then, when the grenade is released and explodes, it releases a negatively charged particle field over a distance of a few meters. The negatively charged particles attract Argent plasma from the demons caught in the radius. Carrying the plasma through their cells. Partially healing the Doom Marine. Those 5 words are the only thing in the entire description that actually pertain to the gameplay. I may know the siphon grenade heals you, but I still don't know how. Do you have to stand in the explosion radius of the grenade? Is it enough just to hit the demon? Do you have to deal damage with your own weapons? The description doesn't tell you. Instead, focusing on the complex lore of Argent energy fields, something you definitely care about. Every single piece of equipment in this game is some combination of incredibly confusing and borderline useless. And this brings me to the main reason I think the Dark Ages' one gun problem isn't nearly as bad as Doom 2016's. There's just simply more to distract you. When you're constantly using melee, blocking, parrying, shield bashing, shield throwing, it's simply easier to forgive the fact you're only using one gun if you're using so many other elements constantly. Now compare this to the elements that distract you from 2016's one gun problem. Guys, do you get it? I played it twice because it's repetition. The repetitive gameplay of 2016 is easily the greatest sin the game ever commits. And that's saying a lot because this is Doom. I'm pretty sure everything it does is a sin somewhere. In 2016, the last level that actually introduces a new demon is Kadinger's Sanctum, the 6th level of the game. For reference, in Doom Eternal, the last level of the game where they add a new demon is the 2nd to last level of the game. Doom 2016 runs out of new challenges for you before the game is even halfway over. This leads to most of the game feeling the exact same.
I'll have
an arena encounter that begins with several mancubi supported by fodder demons.
How original.
In the middle of the encounter, we'll throw in a summoner for variety before finishing off with Barons of Hell.
Daring today, aren't we?
There's simply not enough demons in this game to maintain variety all the way through. The reason a game like Doom Eternal can be almost nothing but combat and leave you wanting more by the end of a long campaign is because of the enemy variety. You can go entire levels without seeing a demon type once. This keeps the encounters feeling fresh and varied, and it creates moments that are actually memorable. You'll remember the time you had to fight 3 carcasses and a cyber demon, or the time you had to fight 2 whiplashes and 2 mancubi. But I'll tell you what I'm not remembering, the 27th time I've had to fight 10 Barons of Hell, 30 mancubi, and 897 sextillion imps. The imp in Doom 2016 is possibly one of the best designed enemies in any game I have ever played. Everything from their attacks to their movement is perfectly tuned to give you an engaging experience. If this game only had one enemy in it, I think the best option would be the imp. I mean, don't take that as a challenge, though. You see, very late into development, id Software realized something. Nobody wants to play hide and seek with the last 3 fodder demons after they've killed all the heavies. So their solution to this problem was to have the fodder enemies bum rush you after you killed the last heavy. The only issue is that the zombie enemies are too slow to bum rush you, and the only non-zombie fodder enemy is the imp. And because of that, there's more imps than any other fodder enemy combined.
Please, Daddy.
I told you, when I'm finished, you can have what's left.
There won't be any left. There's never any left.
The Mancubus is overused for a very simple reason. There's only 3 heavy demons that have ranged attacks. The Cacodemon's mostly fine because it's used the least. The Revenant's used with similar frequency to the Mancubus, but to be honest, you don't really notice it because they die before they do anything. But the Mancubus has a slight variation, which the developers seem to treat as if it's an entirely original demon. Meaning you have to fight twice as many Mancubuses as you probably should. Couple that with the Mancubus having twice as much health as any demon, and it really feels like once you start fighting the Mancubus, you never stop until the game ends. Let me tell you a secret the developers of Doom don't want you to know. They have a formula. They like to give you one super heavy demon supported by several heavy demons. The super heavy draws your focus and is the main challenge, but the heavy demons make sure the challenge is unique every time. It's not just the same fight over and over. 2016 uses this formula too. The only issue is there's only one super heavy demon in the whole game. Because the Baron of Hell is the strongest demon in the game, but is simultaneously introduced really early, the game gets stuck in an awkward position where the only way they can make encounters more difficult is to just add more Barons. But then when they add more Barons, they get stuck in a hard place where the only way to make it harder is to add more Barons. And then after that, when I got to the end of this game, I never wanted to see a Baron of Hell again. In the final 3 levels of the game, I'd be very surprised if there was a single arena that had less than 3 Barons of Hell. And the fatigue is not helped by the fact that the Baron of Hell is mostly just a reskinned Hell Knight. And if you combine the problem Doom 2016 has with spamming the same overpowered option over and over, with the fact there's not enough enemy variety, you get the monotonous slog that is Doom 2016's second half.
A few moments later.
Now, the Dark Ages also has a slight problem with being too repetitive. However, the enemy variety in this game is great, especially compared to Doom 2016. Instead, the lack of variety in this game mainly stems from how samey all the arenas are. The other Doom games had arenas with a lot of verticality, with jump pads and monkey bars and etc. The Dark Ages doesn't have a lot of verticality, meaning the main difference between arenas is just the shape of them, which is simply just not as interesting as the cool gimmicks that existed in the other Doom games. That being said, Doom the Dark Ages does easily demolish Doom 2016 in terms of being less repetitive. I think the reason why so many of these flaws are so often overlooked when it comes to discussions of Doom 2016 is because at the time, they weren't flaws. Having a low variety of enemies simply doesn't matter that much when your competition has one enemy the entire game. Being able to beat the game with just one gun wasn't even considered a flaw at the time, that was just the standard. And the movement might not be amazing, but at least it wants you to move instead of actively punishing you for moving out and being aggressive. All the biggest flaws with Doom 2016 are really just things that have been highlighted with age. The best way to think of Doom 2016 is that it's a lot like Jaws. You see, Jaws is one of the most important movies ever made. It was arguably the first blockbuster ever released, and a landmark in horror cinema. But also the shark looks fake. Yeah, that's right, the movie that made your grandparents shit their pants in fear before they started wearing diapers isn't even scary. Modern audiences just look at these moments that were considered super scary at the time and just laugh. Yeah, that's right, your grandparents nearly drove to extinction one of the planet's oldest living creatures because of a movie that wasn't scary. But just because Jaws has aged doesn't make the movie any less important. It was still a massive landmark and a cultural milestone when it came out. And the movie aging badly is actually a good thing. Because it aging badly just means that modern movies have better effects, and that's good, that things are progressing with time. It's not like the fake shark magically looked more real when it came out. No, it was the fact that better effects didn't exist yet that made it look more realistic. I'm sure this guy would be terrifying if I had never seen a shark before. And it's the same for Doom 2016. What was once a landmark has now been surpassed. And that's a good thing because it means our games are getting better. For all the praise that Doom Eternal gets, I guarantee you, if it released in 2016, people probably would have hated it. For the average gamer, trying to go from the slower, more methodical, classic Call of Duty cover shooter style of gameplay, to the ridiculously frantic 2,000 miles per hour, cocaine directly into your brainstem gameplay of Doom Eternal is just too big of a jump. We needed Doom 2016 as that middle step. And just because 2016 hasn't aged the best doesn't mean it deserves no praise. Oh, who cares about Apollo 11? Don't you know Apollo 12 got there faster? But despite Doom 2016 not really aging the best, I still do think there's plenty of reasons you can consider this one your favorite out of the series. For starters, sometimes less is more. Eternal and the Dark Ages have a bunch of extra mechanics, and sometimes you just want to shoot something until it dies. Not everyone wants to deal with gimmicks like weak points and parrying, and that's okay. I still think Doom 2016 is the best intro to the Doom series. If I knew someone more casually into games, like maybe they're a Call of Duty fan, Doom 2016 is the one I would recommend to them. It's still a great game despite the many flaws it might have. And as for the Dark Ages, well, I just think it was different than what people were expecting. Rather than judging the game for what it is, people would judge the game based on what they wanted it to be. People wanted Doom Eternal too, but the truth is, they already went as far as they could in that direction. Doom Eternal is already so full and so complete, they couldn't have added anything if they wanted to. A lot of the magic Doom Eternal had was just that the ideas it had seemed so new in a big budget AAA game. And that magic could just never be recreated by doing the same thing again. One thing I think is kind of ironic about the Dark Ages is a lot of the more controversial elements, the flat open areas, the lack of glory kills, the slow moving projectiles, make the game more like the original Doom games. With most reboots of popular series, there's nothing the fans want more than just the original thing again. But this time, something that's largely a return to form is viewed negatively by a lot of people. And even though I really like this game, there's just something about that makes me happy. Because it shows that Doom isn't just relying on nostalgia for what was at one point the biggest PC game ever. The modern series has its own massive set of fans who love the games just for what they are, who might not even care about the older games. And I think that's awesome. Hopefully one day people will see the Dark Ages for what it is, a great game in its own right. Hey, if you liked this video, I'd really recommend you watch this video I made about Minecraft ARGs. It is personally my favorite video I've made so far, and let's face it, if you watched this far into the video, you probably like my content.